Hello everyone, welcome back to another Monday video. My name is Jacob Taliani, and let's get into it. Now, the reason why I started this whole series in the first place was because there's a big fear of a recession, and all of my stories have been themed around people that have bounced back from a recession. So, as I've been researching more and more topics and stories to share with you guys, I came across the word pivot, and I think I'm gonna go ahead and name this series Pivot, because that's what all of these successful people do during a time like this, is they either take what they're working on and shift it into something that can bring them money now, or they change their career entirely, and that's how they survive and end up thriving as a result of a recession. In fact, there has been a ton of invention that's come out of every recession. So I hope some of these videos that I share with you will be motivation to take advantage of a recession. And with that, let's go ahead and get into the story that I found for you guys. This story is about a man named Dante Whitfield. And let's go ahead and read what the New York Times has to say about him. So back when the New York Times interviewed Mr. Whitfield in 2009, he was jobless and soon to be homeless, sleeping on a friend's couch and living on items off the McDonald's value menu. I remember some nights being so hungry that you're eating ketchup or mustard out of the containers, Mr. Whitfield, 44, said today. Now, he's a real estate agent in Tacoma, Washington, developing clients, building up his savings, and, for the first time in more than a decade, planning for the future. I'm feeling more financially secure than I have in probably 20 years, he said. Mr. Whitfield took a winding path to his newfound security. He moved to California in 1999, just in time to ride the dot-com roller coaster. He was single and in his mid-20s, and soon he was working at a communications company in Silicon Valley, earning $60,000 as an executive assistant. Even the bursting of the tech bubble proved only a minor setback. Mr. Whitfield quickly found a job in San Diego, then eventually found his way back to San Francisco when the economy recovered. Saving, he said, was never on his mind. I had just took it for granted, he said. I was once again making big-time money, and I thought it was going to stay that way. It didn't. Mr. Whitfield was laid off again in 2007, and this time there was no quick recovery. For the next 2 years, he was mostly unemployed, and even when he eventually found work, he was barely scraping by. At one point, he worked 3 jobs that together paid just $500 a week. He battled depression. Eventually, however, Mr. Whitfield found his way to Tacoma, where his girlfriend encouraged him to follow a lifelong dream of getting into the real estate business. He got his broker's license in January and quickly built a client base. Mr. Whitfield said he is about to close on his 7th deal since March for a total of $1.6 million in sales. These other realtors don't know what being starving is, what being homeless is, he said, and that gives me an advantage. On his feet again, Mr. Whitfield is sticking to a budget and making backup plans in case the real estate market softens. Now, I might be a little bit biased towards that because he did end up becoming a real estate agent, but regardless, it's still a great story. So let's go ahead and check out where he had to pivot. So let's talk about foundation, or where he started. So, 1999, he moved to California just in time to ride that dot-com roller coaster. Pivot number 1, he ended up moving to San Diego and then to San Francisco because of the dot-com bubble. Pivot number 2 was a little bit forced because in 2007 he lost his job, and as a result had to find 3 separate jobs only to pull together $500 a week and battle depression at the same time. Now, most people's stories might end there, especially at a very low point like that. They just accept their fate and try their best to move on. Now, pivot number 3 took place as a result of him deciding to chase a dream of his, which was to get his real estate license, which, quite honestly, is probably one of the scariest pivots he's done the entire time, because there's no guaranteed commission for a real estate agent. It's all commission-based, which is very scary, especially if you're in a poor financial state, just like he was. But, as we saw in the story, he ended up closing, $1.6 million. $1.6 million as of March in that article. Now, you may call that luck, you may call it skill. Personally, I think it's a little bit of both, but mostly hard work and diligence, because, this man had no financial backing. He was basically dirt poor. He's barely scraping by, and took a bigger leap of faith, and it ended up making his life much, much better. And if there's one thing I could grasp from this, it's that, especially during these very financially hard times, we may not have to pivot an entire career change, but it's really not a bad idea to start a side hustle or to start using your skills to some other advantage to make a little bit of extra cash, because we don't know how bad it's going to be. But if we prepare, even if it comes out good on the other end, who doesn't like a little bit of extra stuff, you know? So that's it for today. I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Later.